Back on First and Now, presented by World Vision Canada, as well as Coors Light. Visit bclions.com/World Vision to become a supporter. Official charity partner of the BC Lions. It is Matt Baker. It is Bob Marjanovic. It is Nik Kowalski. Ahead of a Week 8 home battle with the Hamilton Ticats. Lions looking to bounce back following a 33-27 setback against Saskatchewan on Saturday. And MOJ, let's be real, the final score probably flattered the home side.
Yeah, it did. I mean, the Lions again got off to a slow start, 17-1 in the first quarter. Saskatchewan scores on the opening drive. Seven McGee fumbles the football. They kick a field goal. I think another, was it 2-and-out or whatever it was, and then they come back down and score another touchdown eventually, a series or two later. So, yeah, 17-1. You're not going to win too many football games when you dig yourself that type of hole in the first quarter.
Well, fellas, what is going on in the first quarter? The season now, it's 48-6. The Lions are getting outscored in the first quarter of the season, and that's a stretch of obviously 7 quarters now. So, I mean, if you lose a football game 24-3, there's a lot of problems, right? And that's kind of, if you put the body of work over amount of time, something's going wrong in the first quarter. And I'm sure these coaches and Nathan Rourke and the offense, they're trying to figure out this problem because the team is obviously starting off too flat.
Well, it's like Josh Woods told us on the postgame show. He said, if you know what it is, please let us know. Because clearly they'd like to know the answer to that. Is it the fact that, maybe physically you're not ready to play? Is it mentally you're not ready to play? Maybe it's even, as Julio Caravetta pointed out, he made a great point, maybe it's even starting to become an issue in players' heads, right? To, instead of just going out there and doing your thing, you're kind of thinking about that, and maybe you're trying to do too much. But regardless, it's something that the team has to definitely clean up.
Yeah, you mentioned Josh Woods. I listened to that post-game interview here on CKNW when I got home on Saturday night, and it just seemed like things were too easy for Trevor Harris, whether it was lack of a pass rush, whether it was receivers finding their way to be open. That's a veteran quarterback that's going to carve you up and make you pay if you give him the opportunity.
Well, I mean, everyone's looking at the secondary and, the coverage and saying it, could have been much, much better. And yeah, it could have been. But let's not make no mistake about this. The defensive line had probably their worst game of the year. And I'm talking about quarterback pressures. I think maybe I can count maybe on one hand how many times Trevor Harris had to get off his mark. And I was talking to one ex-CFL coach who said he's never seen Trevor Harris look better, which kind of scored. I mean, and that's the thing. I don't know what it is. It seems like everybody brings their A game against the Lions. I talked about this in the huddle this week, and that's the fact that, here's Winnipeg. They come out, they look like the 85 Bears. They play Calgary twice. They look like a JV team. They didn't even cover a receiver. There's 2 receivers on one side, and there's only 1 DB. And even in high school, you're told to call a timeout in that situation. What's Winnipeg do? Well, let's just run the play. Vernon Adams hits a wide open receiver, and it's a touchdown. So it's interesting. It just seems like the Lions right now are bringing the best out of everyone. And, it doesn't get any easier this week. Here comes Hamilton winning 4 games in a row with Bo Levi Mitchell and Kenny Lawler. So work cut out for him.
I think that's a good segue into, you're going to get a lot of similar play at quarterback this week with Hamilton, because when you think of Trevor Harris, you think of that 3-step drop, getting the ball out quickly, and the numbers back that up too. I was looking online, and Trevor Harris leads the CFL with 2.25 seconds before his average time of pass, and that was pretty apparent on Saturday too at home. And a guy like Bo Levi Mitchell, same.
No, Bo's going to push the ball down way more.
Bo Levi's still 3rd in the CFL though in terms of getting the ball out the quickest.
Yeah, but he's going to be wanting to take those deep shots. I mean, you saw that in the last couple of games that we've seen Hamilton play. Like, he wants to go deep to Lawler. And here's my game plan for this week. If I'm Mike Benavides, I'm going to double team Kenny Lawler. You want to beat me with whoever else, great, but you're not going to beat me with Kenny Lawler. Yeah, you're not going to beat me with a deep shot with Kenny Lawler.
You legit might have to bracket Kenny Lawler. Like, they're talking about on the CFL and TSN panel right now that Kenny Lawler is on a literally record pace, and Milt Steagle's shaking in his boots right now.
Yeah, I mean, CFL passing yards leader, Bo Levi Mitchell. Passing TDs leader, Bo Levi Mitchell. Who leads in both of those categories in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns? Guess who? Kenny Lawler. And, hey, we've seen it firsthand many times, guys. Kenny Lawler coming into BC Place, into Save-On-Foods Field, or back at Princess Auto Stadium, or whatever it was called those times. He had a couple of 200-yard games against the Lions as a member of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So Yeah, this is a very obviously key area that we'll be talking about here. And the Lions need to get to this bye week back at 500. There's just no way around it because the schedule doesn't get any easier as we approach the second half.
I mean, here's the one thing too, and I wrote about this week for my column for Black Press and BCLions.com. If this team continues to shoot itself in the foot and it continues to make mistakes, there are going to be some changes, right? Let's not kid ourselves.
Sure.
Buck Pierce comes from a winning organization in Winnipeg where their motto was FIFO. Figure out what that acronym means. I'll tell you the first two letters, it means fits in. If you make physical mistakes, okay, fine and dandy, you can be coached up, work on technique, whatever the case may be. But when you're making mental mistakes, like, those penalties like offsides or legal procedure, or you're not executing your responsibility or you're freelancing. Those mistakes are being pointed out to you and you're still not correcting them. Guess what? I don't think you're going to be here much longer. No. So if I'm some of the players on this, what's the big thing we heard about Buck Pierce and the offseason? One of the things that, this organization talked about was getting back to having players being held accountable. Right. And if you continue to make the same mistakes, you should be held accountable. And whether it results in a benching, whether it results in somebody being cut, I could see that happening here within the next month.
Yeah. And I mean, you look at this matchup, Hamilton's first in the CFL in turnover ratio, +8. BC's dead last, -10. And that includes 19 turnovers by the BC Lions. It's a common cliche in football, but the team that wins the turnover battle usually wins the football game. We've seen that a lot in this Lions season. The offense has got to play clean, but the defense has got to make a play too. It's complementary football. It's setting yourself up in good field position. That Riders punch out on the 7 McGee kick return in the first quarter, that set the Riders up to get an early kill shot, and that's exactly what it was. And whether it's somebody on defense, got to make a big play early.
Have to. Early statement, and expect some fireworks here. Expect some high scoring, and it all goes down Sunday, 4 o'clock. Moj and Julia with the pregame at 3 o'clock right here on CKNW. We'll talk a bit more about what else is going on. Our family traditions game, always a fun one. If you got kids, this is the summer one to bring them out to. Tickets starting at $19. But we're going to branch out a bit on this episode first and now. We're going to speak to one of our all-time favorites, Bryan Burnham. Now in his third year, enjoying retirement, working in education down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We'll talk to him about some of his big plays, which came against, ironically, the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Bryan Burnham will join us for a couple of segments. We've taken some questions from fans on social media. That's all coming up. We'll head to Tulsa, Oklahoma next on First and Now. And off we go to Tulsa, Oklahoma. It is always our great pleasure to welcome in the one and only Bryan Burnham. Figure we catch up with Bernie from his home on First and Now here on 730 CKNW and wherever you get your podcasts. Bryan, looking fabulous as always. You look like you could probably come out of retirement. I know that's not what you're thinking, but what's going on, sir?
Oh man, not too much. Now that I'm working in school, it's nice to be on summer break. So just enjoying that. Just got done traveling with the family. Things are good.
You're getting to experience a lot of the summer family life that I guess was voided there for a few years during your long career in professional football. But tell our listeners and our fans, elaborate. What are you up to? Working in the education system, you are?
Yes, indeed. I'm now the director of belonging and inclusion at a independent private school here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Holland Hall. Going into year 3, doing that, and really enjoying it. I think the type of guy I was in the locker room and in BC, essentially just carrying on that work, just without all the football stuff. Just working on building a culture, working with students and faculty and families on making sure that everyone in the community feels like they belong. So, that's something that I think I just have always done naturally. And now to be doing it um, doesn't feel like a job, so I've enjoyed it.
And what do you miss most about not being a player anymore? Is it the competition? Is it the camaraderie? What would it be?
Um, yeah, a little bit of everything, but I'd say more so just the locker room, pre and post practice, hanging out, talking about everything that happened in practice, the back and forths with the DBs and who won and who lost, and yeah, just being around the guys and being in the locker room. Um, I would say that's what I miss most.
Well, you know what I remember about you, and you'll probably get a chuckle out of this. You could debate it if you want. I don't know what it was with you and the quarterbacks, but every time I'd look at you, you'd be like within 10 feet of Riley, within 10 feet of Luke, within 10 feet of Nathan. Like you're always kind of like sliding up to those guys, kind of, hey, I'm here. Just remember me. Like you're always kind of working that angle. I don't know what it was, but you can't deny that, can you?
No, I think I don't know. Maybe it's just we just got lucky and we just had a bunch of great guys that I love being around, and maybe it had something to do with them being the quarterback and they're the guy that is getting the ball out to me. So got to make sure that we have a great relationship. But
yeah, your bread was buttered, right?
Absolutely. No,
Bryan,
but honestly, we're great guys. They all are great guys. So easy to be around.
So, Bryan, it's been about 2.5 years since you decided to retire from football. Correct me if I'm wrong, but back then, physically, you probably still had a couple of years in you if you really wanted to do that. But you obviously made the decision to retire for off-field reasons and all of that. Do you still feel like you made the right choice, and are you happy with the choice to retire and how these last 2.5 years have played out for you?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't think a day goes by where I don't, miss playing. You dedicate your life to something, to a craft, and you just work at it. It feels weird to walk away from it, but I have no regrets in the decision I made, and I'm happy with it. I think it was the right decision for me and for my family. And it's funny. I went into that last year having already made that decision. And then, I break my ribs and I'm in the hospital, and then I break my wrist. And I think a lot of people maybe thought he got beat up and he decided to walk away for those reasons. But that had nothing to do with it. Like you said, I felt physically like I could still be playing today. Maybe I follow the Manny Arsenault path and I just keep going. And then, but no, I think, again, I'm happy with the decision, and of course, I miss playing the game, but I really enjoy being able to be home, coming home to my wife every day. That means the world to me. So, yeah, happy.
And I guess we can connect this to the CFL now. Are you still watching the games? Tell the listeners what your interest is in the league right now and how closely you're following the whole league.
Yeah, absolutely. Still watching. I felt bad because I missed our last game. I was traveling, so I wasn't able to watch. But I've been watching all the other games, all the BC games. I don't watch every game in the CFL, but I've enjoyed watching, and it's been up and down. But God, I love watching the guys go out there and compete, especially those guys that I shared the field with and I was in the locker room with. So definitely enjoy sitting back and not having the stress and the anxiety of going into game day. Just being able to sit back, relax, and just be a fan.
Hey, Moja rattled off a few of the quarterbacks you were close with, but not many people listening might remember. We go down memory lane. Your first touchdown grab of your career was from Kevin Glenn.
Kevin Glenn, yeah.
September 2014, at home to the Toronto Argonauts. What do you remember about that moment?
Ooh, yeah. I remember that game, yeah, vividly. It was, that's my first game, um, first regular season game as a BC Lion, first game that I started, coming off the practice squad, um, and my first meaningful football since I tore my ACL in college. So there was just a lot of emotions going into that game, and it was, respectfully, it was kind of a cakewalk because here I am with the waggle, and Toronto at the time just so happened to play press man. Um, so for me, it was like I have a running start and I'm going against man to man. Woo, this is fun. Like, though, this is, yeah, I like this. So, I remember having a couple big catches in that game and then scoring that touchdown. Um, yeah, it was awesome.
And then a lot of your big highlight reels fittingly came against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Lions hosting Hamilton this Sunday. Going back to September 2018, down by 8, you catch the touchdown pass from Jonathan Jennings and then have to go for 2, and you wind up toe tapping just barely in bounds. In fact, it was called incomplete, I think, before review.
Yeah, it was challenged. I remember that.
It's challenged.
Yeah.
Crazy comeback, overtime win. How often do you think back at that one? Had a pretty good photo taken by Paul Yates, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think about it every once in a while. And I can't help but think of everything that led up to that. It was um, I think about, yeah, it was Devere Posey making a huge catch on the sideline. And then right after that, Shaq Johnson making a crazy circus catch to get us into that position, which then set it up for me to be able to go make that play, make those 2 plays, score the touchdown, and then get the 2-point. Such a crazy game. That was just back and forth. And yeah, I mean, that was, I think, something that, I always dream of as a kid, making the game winning touchdown. And it wasn't quite the game winning touchdown, it was the game tying touchdown and 2-point, but to score a touchdown with zeros on the clock was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a spectacular game. The one thing that we remember about you was your competitive nature. And basically, when you're up in a jump ball situation, you always seem to come down with the football somehow, some way. I remember talking to you about that, and I said, where did that come from? You were telling me, like, when you were a kid, was it not your siblings and playing basketball, and that's how you basically got that intensity and that competitiveness?
Yeah, it definitely played a role. I think growing up, being the youngest of 4 athletes, and um, my siblings never made it easy. So we had to earn everything just playing outside, had to earn everything. Even my sister Kara, I think, who was the one I was most competitive with, always competing with her. But, in terms of being able to make that spectacular catch going up and making the 50-50s, that's really my dad, and just being out in the backyard and just throwing the football up and waiting for him to get home from work and just telling him to throw it, make it hard for me. And even when he wasn't there, I'd be out there by myself, throwing the ball up, seeing how far I could throw it, and then running and trying to catch it. So it was just something that I always worked at. And at the time, it wasn't like I was, training. I was just outside playing, having fun. I just loved to do it. And it was just that it's hard to explain. I was just hungry for the ball. Yeah. It was never about the DB or trying to make somebody look bad or it was just all about me and the football. And when I saw the ball in the air, everything else just fades away. Pretty surreal feeling. Time kind of slows down, and going back to your earlier question, I think that might be one of the things I miss the most. Um, just seeing the ball in the air and knowing it's coming to me, and just that feeling uh, from when the ball leaves the quarterback's hands to when I catch it. Um, yeah,
Your dad played in the National Football League, obviously blessed
yeah.
with those genes to play football at the professional level yourself. Yet at the same time, people don't realize, like, when your dad is a pro athlete, there's a lot of pressure on you too, right? I mean, imagine a little
Hmm.
9-year-old Bryan Burnham's playing with his buddies, and his kids are like, well, his dad played in the NFL. He's got to be good, right? So I imagine that was,
Yeah.
I don't want to say it was a curse, but at the same time, it was some pressure, right?
No, yeah, that's a good point. It's funny. I never really thought about it like that, but I definitely can remember kids being like, "Oh, well, his dad plays in the NFL or played in the NFL, so of course he's good." But yeah, and then having to live up to those expectations. But I think I'm so fortunate to have a guy like my dad in my life, and not only was he a professional football player in the NFL, but he's also a psychologist and was in the Marine Corps and um, knew how to help me mentally. And so I never felt that pressure from him. And I think that was the most important thing. Um, he always put his arm around me and just would talk to me. And um, I mean, was just the best thing that I could have for my football career was him and his coaching and his teaching. Um, was just awesome to have.
Hey, Brian, since we last spoke to you, one of your best friends in Lucky Whitehead has retired from the CFL too. Now that you guys have both hung your cleats up, I know there was actually one vivid quote I remember when we sat you down for an Air Up interview where you said, I used to be a loner until Lucky Whitehead came along, and then Lucky would always drag me out and we'd go hang out all the time in the city. So now that you guys are both retired, do you have any favorite memories from your times with Lucky or any stories you'd like to share now that you guys are both retired?
Oh man. Yeah, I'll
Don't
just
want to
say
put you on the
that.
spot, but
I'll say yeah. Man, I won't. I You got there's so much that I can think of. Um, but no, honestly, I just think it was one of those things where like every day was fun. Every day was laughing and just enjoying coming to work every day. Just the energy he brings into the room, and um, that whole group of guys. My last 2 years was just a special group. Um, and I played with a lot of great guys, but that's a group that definitely wish we could have had some more time together. Um, but man, I think every night, every time, every time we go out, it's an adventure with Lucky. Um, so
he,
maybe I'll save some of those stories for another time.
yeah, we'll talk off air. How's that? But I guess just kind of in closing with that part, though, like he was a good guy to have around when times were tense. I mean, every team goes through bad losses, adversity, whether it's the
Hmm.
stadium entrances, him hanging around with his dogs, the old American bullies. He was always kind of good at kind of making things light when it was needed, was he not?
Oh, for sure, and that's just him. That's his character. That's the person he is, and the thing I loved about it there was never a question as to whether he was taking it seriously or not. He's having
Mhm.
fun, but he's coming to work every day, putting in the work, um, doing everything he could to help the team to go out there and play. And I don't know that people really know all of the injuries and the pain that Lucky was playing through. So um, the way that he was able to show up every day, again, put in the work, but then also put a smile on people's faces and lighten the mood a little bit was definitely unique to Lucky, and something that we definitely needed.
You know, you look at your career, Bryan. I think one of the things that really stands out for me, in terms of a memory at least, was that final game in Winnipeg, the playoff game. You and Nathan Rourke in the end zone, very emotional. How much of a regret is it not having that Grey Cup win?
Yeah, that definitely stings a little bit. You know, playing for that long and not making it there, that was tough. And I think especially that last year with the team we had, you know, I'm not the type of guy that likes to, you know, say what if, but man, if Nathan is healthy all season and doesn't hurt his foot, I mean, I think that's a totally different ball game, totally different team. I mean, yeah, I got cold just thinking about that game. I think it was, you know, it might sound weird. I think it was just a great way to go out, though. As strange as that sounds, obviously I would have wanted to go to the Grey Cup and win it all and sail off into the sunset. But that game just felt like Canadian football to me. It was snowing, it was cold, it was windy, it was loud. And just being in that moment was, yeah, special, I think. And going into that game, knowing it was my last and knowing everything that the team gave to be there and everything that Nathan was going through to be out there and hobbling through and could barely walk, but somehow was going out there and trying to lead us down the field and just came up short. I wouldn't say that I necessarily regret anything, but definitely I think that's gonna sting forever. You know, not having that Grey Cup, for myself, for BC, for the fans. I think we've had talented enough teams to get there, and so I think that's what hurts. Knowing we were talented enough, but not being able to put it all together at the right time.
Well said. Yeah, and think about that game. Pretty much a lot of the times ourselves. It was kind of a surreal to live that in the moment, even in a role where we were just on the sidelines. Hey, listen, we could do story time all day, and we'll have to invite you back in the future. Our door's always open, but we are going to invite you back for one more segment, Bryan. Our fans want to talk to you as well. We've compiled some questions on social media, and we'll do that with our guest on First and Now, Bryan Burnham, coming up on CKNW.
Some families pass down recipes. Others pass down their love for the CFL. This Sunday, July 27th, bring your family to BC Place as the BC Lions take on the Hamilton Tiger Cats at our Family Traditions game. Share your Sunday dinner plans with us. Enjoy fun for all ages, a free family portrait studio, and unforgettable moments passed from one generation to the next. Tickets start at just $19. Visit bclions.com. Roar as one!
Back on First and Now with our special guest, Bryan Burnham, deciding to go down memory lane this week. Burnham, fourth on the BC Lions all-time receiving list. How many people remember that? 72-12 as far as yardage goes. And great ambassador, as always, with the BC Lions. And he's good enough to join us for a few more minutes. We've collected a lot of great responses. The fans always love number 16, Bryan Burnham. And Nick and I will quickly go through a few of the better questions. Derek on Instagram, Derek H17 wants to know, Bryan, who's the most underrated receiver you ever played with?
Ooh. Oh, that's tough. Most underrated receiver I ever played with. Yeah, this Katoy. Katoy's the guy that comes to mind. And I know that he's gotten, I think people have started to recognize, but man, Katoy was always I mean, you throw him the ball and he's gonna get some extra yardage, he's gonna break tackles, he's gonna people are just gonna bounce off of him. And again, just one of those guys that just shows up and comes to work every day. Um, man, just a workhorse. So yeah, I'll go Katoy.
Good answer. We have Megan Long on Instagram. We've talked about him earlier. Nathan Rourke. What was the moment that you knew Nathan would be an exceptional quarterback? Is what Megan wants to know.
This has to be training camp. His first training camp, which was what 2021.
21 in July in the heat in Kamloops.
Yeah. And I remember just seeing this guy always doing extra work on the field after practice, and just being like, I'll be honest, it's one of those things where you see it early in training camp and it's like, we'll see if that lasts. We'll see if that continues. And every single day, just getting that extra work in. And coming in, I remember he overthrew me on a pass in a team session. And I'm a kind of guy who is very competitive, whether it's a game or whether it's practice. So I'm pretty pissed off because, we're moving the football. I want to win. I want to win every rep, every session. And he comes right up to me and he's like, "Oh, we're just not on the same page. My bad. What were you thinking here?" And just asking questions so that he can improve, so that we can both improve, so that we can be on the same page. And in that moment, I was just impressed. Like, okay, this guy's really serious about this. And then just every day continuing to build and just seeing the way he works every day. So yeah, it really started from the very beginning of training camp.
Yeah, and people might forget too, Michael O'Reilly's elbow injury. Nathan did a lot of work that first year with you guys in the first team offense. Explains his surge to start 2022, perhaps. Before I pass it over to Nikki here for a few on Twitter/X, loyal listener Carolyn Cody wants to know, when are you and the family coming to visit Vancouver? We saw you and your wife Aubrey. Was it last off season here? But
back in November. Great question. Oh man, I would love to come up. Probably. We'll see. We'll see. Come October, we probably won't be traveling too much, so maybe we can squeeze something in before then.
Yeah, congratulations on your pending arrival. Maybe we'll get MOJ to send the private jet down. So there you go. What do you got?
I like the idea of that.
All right, we're going to compile a few of the same question that we got on Twitter. The Tale of Oat, Tyler McIver. They asked about coaching for football. Do you have any interest in that down the road?
Yes, it's interesting. I love the game. I love to teach the game. I'm helping out with the high school now, coaching receivers. But I'm not sure if that's something I want to get into full time. Again, I think experiencing every level, college to the pros, I think it's just a huge time commitment, a lot of time away from family. So I'm not sure that that's something I'm really wanting to get into anytime soon. But maybe, maybe in the CFL, I think in college with all of the recruiting and all of the extra stuff, you're just on 24/7. So maybe if we find ourselves back in Vancouver one day, we'll see. You never know.
Speaking of coaching, former Lions quarterback Dane Evans is in Tulsa. And that's where you're living, of course, and he's coaching high school. I know Hatch spent some time in Tulsa, I guess, during the offseason. You ever cross paths with any of those guys down there?
Not this past offseason. I did. I would hang out and throw around with Dane in the off seasons. But Dane actually, he was in Tulsa, and he actually just took a job down at Texas State.
Wow.
Under G.J. Kinney, who was a former Tulsa quarterback that I played with during my time at the University of Tulsa. So, but I used to go out and run routes with Dane, and had some great battles when he was in Hamilton. But yeah, hopefully next time Hatch is in Tulsa, he'll hit me up.
All right, and looking at Facebook, there's a lot of questions where it just says, "Wish this guy was still playing. He was money. Another great player. We miss you, Bryan." I think we've talked about all those things, but we got one good question here from Lisa Kowalski, who may or may not be my mother, but she asks, "What advice would you give new players entering the CFL?"
That's the best question a Kowalski's asked on this show, by the way.
In years, yeah.
Probably, yeah.
That's great question. Man, just take it day by day and find someone who has been there and who has had success, and learn from them. Watch what they do. For me, I was watching Manny Arsenault, I was watching Travis Lulay, I was watching the way that those guys approached the game, watching the way they prepared, and trying to emulate that. And so, yeah, I would say learn from those veteran leaders in the locker room, and don't ever forget the reason you got into this game. Don't forget, why you're here, why you love this game. Because things can get stressful as the season goes on, and you're in pain, and there's a lot of distractions and just a lot going on. Don't forget why you love this game, and the fact that it is a game, and we're grateful to be able to go out there every day and run around and play. You never know when it's going to be your last. So just go out and take it day by day.
Well said. This has been a very awesome time catching up with you and welcoming you back to the podcast. You were one of the original guests back when we first started this thing, and glad the family's doing well, and the invitation's always open, good sir. We appreciate you taking time to sit down with us.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys. Good to hear from you. It's going to be a long season, and I've got faith in my Lions, so I'm looking forward to continuing watching these guys.
Well said. That's Bryan Burnham on First and Now, and we're back to promote family traditions coming up. Excellent stuff with Bryan Burnham. Could talk football with Bryan all day long here, and we'll do more of that. We'll look to get some more Lions alumni members. Was exchanging texts with Travis Lulay this week as well. He's enjoying the family life down in Oregon, and we have a hunch there might be an opportunity to get another Lions legend on later this summer. We'll save those details. But yeah, I mean, you've been covering the team a long time. Before we get into some of the family traditions events happening this Sunday, just a genuine down-to-earth guy is Bryan Burnham.
Yeah, very likable, very personable, very modest off the field. He played with so much confidence and aggression, yet off the field he's quiet and reserved, but an unbelievable competitor. And like I said, when you threw the football in the air one-on-one, 9 times out of 10, it'd be Bryan Burnham coming down with the football.
Yeah, and somebody that when he speaks, you listen. That's why I literally can hear him saying the arrow up thing I quoted, where he said, "I'm a loner until Lucky Whitehead came into this team." I can literally hear him say that in my head because it's so vividly memorable when he speaks. And yeah, he's just one of those legendary Lions.
Well said, and we thank Burnham again for joining us. BC Lions hosting Hamilton Sunday, family traditions game. Come cheer us on to victory. $19 tickets, the tailgate party, the backyard party at noon on Terry Fox Plaza. Includes princesses, balloon artists, mascots from some of our favorite teams in the market. We'll see Finn out there with.
Don't remind me of Finn. Finn blew me up at a Canucks game this week.
Was that on the scoreboard?
No, it was in the tunnel after the game. And I've known Finn since he's been, quote, Looney Bird way back in the day.
Yeah.
At UBC. So we've known each other for like 30 years. And he was walking in where the area is by the Grizzlies' old locker room?
Yeah.
And that's where he kind of
on the other corner there?
Yeah, that's like his locker room area. So anyway, I kind of gave him a gentle nudge. He gave me a gentle nudge back. And it was a gentle nudge. Unfortunately, I know I tripped over myself and wound up doing a face plant, like landing in a plank on the concrete. Everybody got a good chuckle out of it. And I was just like, man, I'm old. When I'm getting blown up by a mascot, it's bad. Be careful of Finn. Whoever's out there, he's a hard hitter. That's all I'll say.
Well, you got to be in that role. And mascots, and there's a family portrait studio. Going to be fun. It's one of our more fun games of the summer, Sunday, 4:00. And while we're on the topic of family traditions, I think a lot of us who follow the CFL, have followed the BC Lions, got into it because of family. And what was your CFL family memories, Nick?
Well, the last thing I'm sure our audience wants to hear is a little bit of Winnipeg Blue Bombers talk, but that's where my CFL memories begin, going to Canada Stadium and those metal bleacher end zone seats. I always look forward to it over the summer because Winnipeg Gods, they struggled a bit. Like I remember the 07 Grey Cup where they lost to Saskatchewan. Kevin Glenn gets hurt. Ryan Dinwiddie comes in. But times like 2011, Swaggerville ultimately comes short against BC Lions. I have fond memories of watching that team as a kid, having my Javon Johnson jersey in the crowd. There's also a game I want to show you guys. This is going to make for bad radio, but the Thanksgiving game between BC and Winnipeg, so it sort of relates to the Lions. Look at where the Bombers are kicking off from here.
So the Lions 40.
We got to ask Davis Sanchez, but no, the Lions 35-yard line. So this is after a Davis Sanchez brawl. So that was one of the craziest games. It ended with a Dion Beasley pick 6. That was Casey Printer's last ever CFL snap taken in that game.
Yep.
Pick 6 in overtime, but some great memories at Canada Ends, and obviously on the good side now, as they say.
Yeah, that was something else. Was it with the Lions up 35 or 31-14 or something in the fourth quarter of that one, and they lost in overtime. The old 12-point overtime loss because they were already losing, and then they threw a pick 6, and then that's when Printers kind of lost it after that. But yeah, for me, it's always near and dear to my heart. My mother's parents came here from Italy in the early 50s, and what a lot of European immigrants do back then is they do something to fit in. And my Nonna and Nono discovered BC Lions football, became season ticket holders at Empire, and the move to BC Place, they were pretty high up there on the priority list. I'll never forget the old stadium before the renovations, the old BC Place configuration, Section 11, Row V, kind of right behind our bench now. About maybe 20 rows up. That's where I remember the crazy 1991 Doug Flutie season. That was when I started going to games, and it's always been near and dear to my heart. My dad took me as well. My dad and I got a picture with the Grey Cup at a Lions Birmingham Barracudas game in 1995, Moj. I won't ever forget that. being the defending Grey Cup champions, they had the Grey Cup on display, and that picture is part of my collection. So, yeah, always good to enjoy the tradition with the family. My young daughter's starting to take a bit of an interest now, so we got to keep it going, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, my memories of the Lions go back to listening to Jim Cox on the radio and the Lions going to the prairies and losing to the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the Western playoffs, the semis. And, I remember one of my first games at Empire Stadium in a rainy day. We were in the end zone, me and my buddy that I grew up with, Steve Goodwin from New West, and Joe Forkwing tipped away I think it might have been Dieter Brock or Tom. I think it was Dieter Brock. Tipped away a pass right at the end of the game to preserve a Lions win. And the Lions actually wound up going to the playoffs that year before they lost. But I remember that game with Forkwing tipping the ball away in the end zone. That's one of my first memories watching the Lions in person. So, yeah, that's been a long time. I'm talking like, man, 50 years. Wow, that's
crazy. Yeah.
On a little quick plug to make it current day, we've done some cool sit downs with the Jackson Finley and his mother and father, and then the Keon Hatcher family, and kind of showing how football has connected their families together. And those will be dropping on the BC Lions YouTube channel this week, and you'll be seeing some snippets, I believe, during halftime or before the game or whenever they get fit in. So some cool content coming on the way too.
Yeah, and I know you know the Finley family very well, and we look forward to seeing the final YouTube and the in-game segment as well. Excellent job, fellas. Lions, Tiger Cats, very quickly, 30 seconds or less. Moj, what's your big key to Sunday?
Hey, it's always the key. Win the battle in the trenches. You have to do a much better job on the line of scrimmage in terms of defensively getting pressure on Bo Levi Mitchell, and offensively, trying to establish the run and hopefully sustaining some drives.
Well said. And yeah, do something about these first quarters.
Yeah,
yes,
I'm echoing that.
Yeah.
First quarter and turnover battle. Those are two main aspects in this game for me. Huge. Thanks to those for listening here on 730 CKNW, wherever you get your podcasts. For those listening on the podcast, stay tuned. We'll go between the lines with Cam Tucker here from BCLC in just a moment. Lions, Tiger Cats, pregame with Moj and Julio, among others, 3 o'clock Sunday, right here on 730 CKNW.
Fire up the engines. Saturday, August 16th, the BC Lions face the Montreal Alouettes at 4 p.m. for the Show and Shine game. Roll into the Plaza of Nations for the biggest backyard party ever, featuring over 200 classic and exotic cars. Get there early. The most legendary gate giveaway is waiting. A custom BC Lions diecast car. All the action starting at just $19. Visit bclions.com and...
All right, it is that time again on First and Now. We welcome in our good pal Cam Tucker from BCLC and PlayNow.com. You see him on the scoreboard every home game at Save on Foods Field at BC Place, talking about some of the key lines out there to watch for. Cameron, how goes it, my friend?
Yeah. Wow. What a busy weekend. I think that for the Lions, it was really interesting to see how that market kind of reacted last week to the Lions. They started as underdogs, go to favorites. They were, pretty big favorites when the game started against Saskatchewan, and unfortunately don't get the result that they wanted. And now you've got Hamilton coming in this weekend. So it's a big game, and we're looking forward to another important showdown here for the Lions.
Hamilton, 4 straight wins, have skyrocketed to first place in the Eastern Division. Despite that, though, and despite the fact the Lions are coming off a bit of let's be honest here, a lackluster performance, BC opening as a 3-point home favorite.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, Matt, right off the hop, that Hamilton right now is red hot. 4 wins in a row. Bo Levi Mitchell right now leads in just about every single passing category, including yards, touchdown throws. He's thrown 2 interceptions this year. And Hamilton right now, they're red hot. Not only going to the top of the East Division standings, but right now they lead the league in points scored per game. And, looking at the 4 games that they've won in a row, they're averaging, just under 35 points per game. So this offense right now is red hot. the Lions are going to have a difficult time. They certainly got their work cut out for them going into this matchup. But yeah, like you said, Matt, the Lions are favored by 3 points right now. We'll see if that swings. I'd imagine that might start to swing in favor of the Tiger Cats, given their recent run of form. And the over-under on this game is also 55.5, which is pretty high. It's one of the highest totals that we've had so far this season. But looking at some of the bet trends coming into this game, Hamilton right now has had the Lions number in terms of the point spread. They're 8-2 against the spread in their last 10 matchups with the BC Lions, dating back to, I believe it was 2018. And then looking at the over 55.5 points right now at PlayNow, these teams have gone over in their 3 previous matchups, including a 54.5 point total last year. So there's been some wild scoring games between these teams over the years. And given how Hamilton's offense is operating right now, I mean, we could be in store for another high scoring game. So the Lions began the week 3-point favorites. My anticipation or my gut feeling is this is probably going to slide in the direction of the Hamilton Tiger Cats by the time we get to kickoff. And the total points for this game, 55.5. Again, that's a big number, but we've seen some pretty high scoring games between these teams in the past too.
Hey Cam, as we enter the 2-month mark of the CFL season, who's your biggest surprise so far? And you can't say the Calgary Stampeders. No, I'm kidding. It's got to be the Calgary Stampeders.
No, it's
because nationally that's a surprise, right? But break down the numbers for us.
Are we 2 months into the season? My goodness, time flies when you're having fun. Yeah, look, I mean, the Calgary Stampeders, in my eye, they have to be the surprise of the season. Nobody was giving these a chance, giving Calgary a chance at the start of the year. That includes the odds makers. The odds makers had them at plus 1,700 to win the Grey Cup. Those are the second longest odds on the board behind the Edmonton Elks. So, I mean, they were written off at the start of the year. And you look at where they have, where they are in the standings now, they're 5-1. They now have the third best odds on PlayNow to win the Grey Cup at plus 350. That's a big slide. That's a big jump in the odds, to this point in the season. It is a long season, so we'll see how this goes. I mean, it might not be sustainable what they're doing, and they might, come back down to earth a little bit, but you have to look at the Calgary Stampeders as being the big surprise of the year. And I was looking at, their matchups this year, 6 games that they've played. They've been the underdog in 5 of those 6 games. They've not only covered the spread as an underdog in 5 of those games, but they've won straight up as an underdog as well. So if you've been betting on the Calgary Stampeders this year to this point in the season, you've probably made some pretty good money off of them. But, they seem to be written off every week as underdogs, and they've really come through playing some very good football. And it's not just the teams that they're beating. I mean, they're not, they played Ottawa, and that was a game where they really didn't play very good football. The weather impacted that game, but they've beaten Winnipeg. They've beaten Saskatchewan. They've beaten some very tough teams in the West Division. I mean, they are full marks for being top spot right now. And certainly working their way up the Grey Cup list in terms of the odds. So I've been very impressed by them and what they've done this season. I think they do have to be a surprise, though, given that nobody thought that they would have a good year this year. Quite a remarkable turnaround in Calgary right now.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I should say it's the week 8 of the CFL.
It's July. Okay, yeah, you're right. But
2 months is approaching when we hit our bye week. It's going to be 2 months into the CFL season next week. But before we get to the bye week, we're focused on the Hamilton Tiger Cats and week.
Yes,
of course. Cam, PlayNow, you got your boost. What are you guys cooking up, or what are you looking at ahead of this game?
Yeah, there's a few things that we were looking at, and I was thinking, which angle could we take? You've got Nathan Rourke, you've got Bo Levi Mitchell, who are, I think 2 of the premier passers in this league. And, you look at what Bo Levi Mitchell has been doing this year. I mean, he's, this is MOP category stuff for him. But I think that we're going to go in a bit of a different direction here. We're going to look towards James Butler and some rushing yard milestones. We're perhaps going to parlay that with James Butler to score an anytime touchdown. He's facing his old team, the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I mean, he's got to be pretty motivated going into this game. Not only motivated to face his former team, but he's the production, I think, has been, for lack of a better phrase, a bit hot and cold this year. Like, we've seen what he can do when you give him the ball and he's got room to run. He had 170 yards rushing against Edmonton. He had 29 carries against the Elks, which is that's a massive number. Then you go into the game against Saskatchewan, and I think a little bit of game script caught up to him because the Lions were trailing so early. So you have to kind of get away from the run game. And I'd imagine that the Lions probably would want to go back to the run game against Hamilton, make sure that offense is staying off the field on the other sideline. So my expectation is that James Butler is probably going to see a little bit more work going into this game. And so I do think that we're probably going to look his direction for a boost. And, we'll see about getting some rushing yard milestones and perhaps parlaying that with a touchdown.
Yeah, the reverse James Butler revenge game, if you will. Remember 2 years ago in August, I think it was, the Tiger Cats came in here and JB had, I think, a couple hundred yards at least from scrimmage, 2 touchdowns. And when that guy has a little extra motivation, he's dangerous. So I like where you're heading here, sir.
So the James, what you're saying is the James Butler revenge game. We gotta go with this for sure. This is given his work,
absolutely,
against the Lions a couple of years ago. Yeah,
absolutely. Excellent job as always, my friend, and we should remind you and our listeners, no show next week. The BC Lions are on a bye week, and so are we heading into week 9. So we'll be back a couple of weeks from now talking about a rematch of sorts. The Lions going to Hamilton on August 7th on Thursday night, and would be week number 10. And hopefully we're talking about a chance.
Just flying by here, guys.
Yeah, hopefully we're talking about a chance for the Lions to sweep this home and home series, if you will. Thank you, sir.